everyone and welcome to Rule Breaker. Today I'm going to show you how to play one of my favourite two-player games, which is Wonders Duel, designed by Antoine Bauza and Bruno Cathala and published by Repost Productions. Alright, first of all let's take a look at the components. So you've got this weird shaped board thing here, which is going to be the military tracker, amongst other things. You've got this little swords and shields thing, which is going to start in the middle of this track. There's a whole bunch of wonder cards, which are a little bigger than the rest of the cards, and then there's 4 little decks, ages 1, 2 and 3, and then a smaller set of guild cards, which are there to change up the game from game to game. There's these military track income tokens, which I'll explain later, a score track, the instruction manual, and a nice little help sheet. 3 different denominations of coins and these technology tokens. So let's check out setup now. Okay, so the first thing you got to do is take the board, stick it in the middle of the table, and put this swords and shields icon right in the middle here of this track. Basically this track here is going to show each player's military, and it's always the difference between player 1 and player 2's military. If at any point someone can manage to get this track all the way down to this wreath symbol down here, that's an instant victory. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many points you're going to be getting throughout the game, if you can win by military, the game ends straight away. That's something to be aware of right off the bat of the game. Other thing you got to do is take the technology tokens, give them a nice mix up, like whatever way you want to do it, shuffle, 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 spin them around, whatever. And then put 5 face up here on this section of the board. These are the only 5 that are going to be active at the start of the game. There will be cards, possibly cards, in the game that may use the remainder, so keep them handy just in case on the side of the board. The next thing you're going to do is take these money tokens here and put them on the board. There are spaces that are the same shape as them here on the 10s and the 5s. Strangely, the 5s don't go on the 5s. The 5s go on top of the 10, and the 2s go on top of the 5, like this. Something to be aware of, that they got to fit into those slots. It's not very intuitive. I mean, there are 2 and 5 here, but they actually do go on the 5 and the 10. Just something to be aware of when you're starting off. Each player also gets 7 coins at the start of the game. So you can take these in any form you want, like you can take a couple of 3s and a 1, or you can take 3 and a bunch of 1s, whatever way you want. You're just going to be, you can take change at any point as well. This is just your starting money for the game, so keep them to each side. And then you got to set up the 3 age decks. The way you do this is you take the entire deck of the first age and you shuffle it all up like this, and then take 3 out of the deck. Then that's your number 1 deck ready. You do the same with age 2, so shuffle them all up, take 3 out, that's ready for play. And then age 3 is slightly different. You shuffle it all up, take out 3, just like the others, but then you also take the deck of guild cards, give that a shuffle, and then add 3 to the 3rd age. You're also going to give that another shuffle just to mix the guild cards into it. You notice that they have a different back on them. That is intentional, it's to give you a clue as to when they're coming up in the game. And then when you've got your 3 decks ready, you're ready to start with the wonder phase. The rulebook recommends that you start with particular wonders for each player. That's not really necessary in my opinion. I mean, after your first game it tells you to randomize them. I'm just going to show you how to do that, and I recommend that you do this from the very start. So these are the wonder cards here, the slightly bigger cards with the landscape style art on them. What you're going to do is you're going to shuffle them just like you did the others. You're going to take 4, the top 4, and then you're going to reveal each of them like this. And then decide who's going to be the first player. You can do this any way you want, but let's say the player on the left is going to be first. This player gets to choose any of the 4. Let's say they take this one, that's for this player. Then the player on the right, the second player, gets to pick the next 2. So let's say this player takes this one, and then the last one goes to the player on the left. So they've each got these 2 wonders. Now these are in your hand, they're not in play right now, so you keep them to one side, and then there is a second round of this kind of drafting that we're doing here, again with 4 wonders, just like this, except this time the player who went second in the first round picks first in this round. So let's say this player takes this one, then the other player picks 2, like these 2 maybe, and then the last one goes over this side. And now everybody's got their 4 wonders and you're ready to play the game properly. On the very back of the rulebook, it's going to show you the different ages and how they're set up. The way that this is going to happen is in age 1 you're going to do a kind of a shape with all the cards like this, and it differs for each age. So for age 1 you're going to take your deck that you'd gotten ready and shuffled up, and you're going to put them out in a particular order. So when you see white, that means face up, and when you see brown, in this case, it means face down. In the second age, blue will be face down, and in the third age, purple will be face down. So let's just build this together now. Okay, so first of all, face up is 2 cards, then it's 3 cards face down, and they overlap intentionally, okay? That's very important. Then it's 4 like this, then it's 5 like this, and then finally it's 6 on the bottom like this. And if you look at your diagram on the bottom of the rule book, you'll see that it makes the same shape. Okay, 6 face up on the bottom, just like us, 2 face up on the top, and then the layers in between. So I think now is a pretty good time to tell you how to win this game. So you're going to either win the game by military on the track that I showed you already, which is this guy here. If you can get this down to the opposite end of the board, you win straight away. You can also win the game by collecting 6 of the 7 different sign symbols. You win straight away as well. So in the rule book on page 12 it has a list of all of the different symbols, but it's pretty much any card with a green top on it. There are 7 different ones, but you only need to get 6 of them to win. So that's another instant victory. So military is instant victory, and science progress is an instant victory as well. However, what is more likely to happen is your game is going to go through 3 ages and you're going to end up counting points, and that's where the little scorecard that comes with the game comes in. You're going to be marking out points for each different type of card, and whoever gets the most points is the winner. So how do you get points on cards? Well, anytime you see a symbol like this, which is a number with a wreath around it, that is victory points. So they're a very obvious example there. These blue cards are all just going to be points directly on cards. Some of the science cards have points on them as well, these green ones. Typically brown, grey and yellow cards don't tend to have many victory points on them, if at all. Same with the red cards, they're just military. So a lot of the points are going to be on your blue cards and green cards. Also in age 3 there's going to be plenty of points on some of the cards. These purple guild cards, these are the ones with the different back on them, they usually have points on them as well. And the points definitely increase from age to age. So my advice to you as a new player is not to go crazy on points. It looks pretty tempting to take some of these right now, but what you really want to be doing is getting resources. I'll show you why now. Okay, so remember those wonder cards that we drafted at the start of the game? They're pretty much some of the most powerful cards in the game, and you're going to want to build these if you can. However, it's not just so straightforward as just playing them. You're going to have the resources in order to build them. So in the case of the Great Lighthouse here, if you have a look on the left, you'll see that there are 4 different icons. These are the different types of resource that you're going to need to have in your playing area in order to play this card out onto the table. Then you're going to do the effect on this side here. How do you get those resources, you may ask? Well, that's where the other cards come in. So over here, back to our pyramid of cards, resources are going to be available here. Like so you can see here, there's this stone, there's this wood, and so on your turn, you must do something with one of these cards. Okay, so either you can take a card. So let's say I want this stone. You can take that card and that's your turn. You keep that card in front of you. Or what you can do is you can get a card that's face up, take it like this, and get rid of it, throw it to a discard pile, and that allows you to take 3 coins from the bank and add that to your money supply. You might need to do this if you can't afford to play a card, or you might want to do it to get the money to do other things. One thing to note here though is, if you have a look at this card here, it has a cost just under the border. In this case you need to have a stone in order to play it. So if you wanted to take this card on your turn, and then the other player took a different card, you could then play this with the stone you have in your playing area. Now, another thing to be aware of is, this is not a card that gets thrown away. You keep this for the whole game. You have this in front of you, you can then take this, also keep it in front of you. And all cards that you accept like that for the whole game will remain in your playing area. You're never going to lose cards once you've got them in here. Now, you may notice that this card here has nothing covering it anymore while the rest of them do. What happens in that case is the card gets flipped over face up and it's now available to be chosen. So this player is taking these 2 cards, this player is taking this card. You can still take from the bottom row if they want, or they can go straight to this one. So pretty much any card that's face up but doesn't have something covering it can be chosen. So if you take a look here, there are face up cards like these ones that can't be chosen because they have things covering them, but anything here would be available straight away. There's another thing on each card that you should be aware of as well. If you take a look at this card here, aside from having 3 victory points, it also has this symbol here on the right. That doesn't do anything right away, but what that does count for in later ages is a cost. So like the way this card here has a cost of spending 3 gold on it, some cards in future ages will have this mask symbol on them, and if you have this card in your tableau, you'll be able to play it for free without having to pay any other costs because you've got the mask. So each colour of card kind of denotes a particular type of card. These blue cards are usually points, as I said before. The green ones are science, so you need 6 of those symbols in order to win the game. Browns are always resources, like this one. There are also grey resources, like this card here from age 2. There may also be some underneath here. They're also just a different type of resource. The reason why they're different colours is purely for scoring. There will be bonus cards that allow you to get points for greys or bonus points for browns and stuff like that. That's why there's 2 different types. The yellow cards are generally economic cards. This one gives you a discount when buying stone, for example. Well, this one gives you a discount for buying wood, which we'll go into in a minute. The red cards here move the military track, which I'll show you again in a moment. And the only other colour is the purple guild cards, which come in the 3rd round, which are usually just for points. So bearing in mind that you can take cards that are face up, or you can throw a card into the discard pile to take money, there's actually a 3rd thing you can do with the card, and that is use it to build one of your wonders. So let's say that I wanted to build my Colossus wonder here. If I had all of these resources in my tableau, I would be able to build this card, but I would have to take a card from the supply here and use it to build the wonder. So let's say I want to build this Colossus now. I have the resources. I just choose one of the cards, let's say this one. I take it, I put it face down, and I put it underneath my Colossus like this. Stick it in there just like that. That means that this is built, and then you would immediately do the things on this side. In the case of the Colossus, it immediately moves the military marker across 2 spaces. So let's just have a look what that's like. Okay, so I built this Colossus, and if I'm playing and say that I'm on this side, what that will do is take this military marker and move it 2 spaces. Now if I was to get another military card, let's say I draft this one from the thing on my next turn, what that will do is it will add another one to this track, just like so. And it might be hard to see on the video here, but you can see these dotted lines here. Whenever you cross one of these lines, you are now in a new part of the military track, and the first time you get across to one of these that has one of these symbols on it, you take this away, and the other player has to lose the number of coins on it. So the player on this side of the table will have to lose 2 of his coins. Like this, they're gone. Like so. These tokens never go back on, they're gone for the game, so it could be that the player has no coins left or doesn't have two. They only lose down to 0, and then the effect is finished. Again, if you keep going and you get the military tracker all the way up here, the player's going to lose 5 coins, which is a lot. And then if you keep on getting military icons all the way up to this point, you'll win straight away. So military is very swingy, it usually goes back and forth quite a lot, and is a very powerful way of winning the game. The other thing on this board are these technology tokens. So if you want to get one of these, they're a little trickier to get. The way that you get those is if you happen to have a science card with a particular symbol, and then you get another one of the same symbol, that allows you to take any of the available face-up technology tokens straight away. So having a quick look at it here, this one allows you to take 7 victory points at the end of the game straight away. This one is you get 3 points per science technology. This one is whenever you finish a wonder you get to take another turn, and so on and so on. Something else to be aware of, 6 science symbols to win the game does not include duplicates. They've got to be different symbols. So if you had these two, you won't have 2 symbols towards winning the game, you'll only have 1. Let's take another look at this library card here. The cost here is either going to be a stone, a wood and a glass, or it's going to be this book symbol, which is like the mask symbol that I showed you on another card earlier. In the case of the scriptorium, if you had this already with the book symbol on it, you'd be able to play the library for free without paying these 3 costs. However, if you didn't have the scriptorium and you wanted to play the library here, you'd have to have these 3 resources. So let's just say, for example, you happen to have the wood and the glass card already in your tableau, and you wanted to build the library, but you didn't have the stone. How would you do that other than getting stone? Well, that's where the money comes in. So you've got 7 money at the start of the game, you may have accumulated more throughout the game, but at any point that you don't have a resource, you can spend 2 coins to get any resource. So let's say I had these 2, I want this library, I can spend 2, so get rid of a 3, get 1 change, and that would count for the stone, and then I'd be able to have the library. However, there is one exception to this. Okay, in this case, if I'm this player and I want to build a library, it's the same situation as before, but if my opponent happens to have the stone that I need, that's going to change the cost of stone for me. I've got these 7 coins here, I want to build this library, but instead of spending 2 on the stone, because my opponent has one, it adds 1 per stone. So in this case it's going to cost 3 for me to use this to build the library like that. Now that plus 1 per resource can get really expensive when your opponent has got lots and lots of that resource. So let's just pretend this guy happens to have 3 stone. Well, that changes the cost dramatically. Instead of it just being the basic 2, it's going to cost 5 stone to pay that there, which is why resources are really important to get for yourself and not rely on the coins for the whole game, because you won't be able to do it for very long. I'm just going to show you one other thing that mixes with the resource cost here, because it is pretty important. In this pile of cards there are plenty of the yellow cards that offer discounts on resources. So let's say if you happen to have this one, which is the stone, with a little 1 coin in the corner in your tableau like so, it doesn't matter how many stone your opponent has, stone will always cost you 1 if you don't have it. So in the case of having this card with these, you only need to spend 1 coin because of this, and you'd be able to build your library like so. With so many different symbols and stuff on the cards, a lot of them are all repeats of each other. I just want to show you a couple of other symbols that you really need to know about in this game. The first of which is an example of which is on this statue of Zeus card. You'll see here that there's a brown card with a kind of a line through it, like a break through it. If someone manages to build a card that has one of these on it, so let's say you took this card, used it to build the wonder, and you had the cost of course, then what that would do is it would allow you to destroy one of your opponent's brown resources. So if I happen to have one of these wood here on my side of the table and someone played this, that wood would get discarded and thrown into the discard pile straight away. Another one also on a wonder that's really important is this symbol here, which is like a kind of a repeat symbol. What that means is if you build a wonder here with this symbol on it, you get to take an extra go straight away, which is really, really, really important in this game, particularly when it comes to science symbols. So let's say this player wants to build this guy, takes this card, uses it to build it. What that then happens is they get to take another turn. This card had been face down, is now face up. That becomes available to that player, which when you're looking for that sixth science symbol can be the difference between winning the game and losing the game. So this is a really important symbol and something to look for when you're playing. There's a whole host of different symbols on these wonder cards. Like for example, there's one more in this one here, the mausoleum. There's this symbol here that looks like a pile of cards with an X on top. What that allows you to do is when you build it, you look at the entire discard pile and play any of the cards from it for free. There's also wonders that give you coins, allow you to have resources, like in this case the paper and the glass are available to you just like as if they were resource cards, or in this one the standard resources are available to you. Some of them just have points on them, like the Colossus earlier. You can get some military going, destroy somebody's cards, take another turn, and so on. So your best friend in this game for your first few games is definitely going to be the help sheet here. This has a quick back and forth one page guide to all the icons. It's really, really helpful. So you know, it has this go again, destroy a resource, all of the different guild tokens, all of the different points bonuses, as well as what all the resources look like on there. That's a great resource for your first game. And gameplay is going to keep going like that, taking turns taking a card, doing something with it, either playing it in front of you, throwing it away for money, using it to build a wonder, all the way until this whole pile of cards is gone. When the first pile of cards from age 1 is all used up, you're going to put out age 2 cards. And again, that has its own pattern, so you're not going to put them out in the same order like you did in age 1 like this. Instead it's kind of this inverted triangle, and then age 3 is going to have this unusual shape here. Once every card has been drafted from age 3, the game is going to end. Well, that's assuming you haven't won by military by then, or science, okay? Once that gets to that stage, you're going to take the scorecard here and jot up the points for each one. So there's points on each different type of card, and if or not it was a science or a military victory, which is kind of superfluous. I wouldn't use one of these if I won by military or science. And then whoever has the most points is the winner, and that's how you play Seven Wonders Duel. So this game is pretty crazy cool. Drafting with 2 players, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of different iconography. Again, this little help sheet is going to be a huge resource to you, especially for these technology tokens, and for any confusion that you might have on any of the icons or any of the setup. It's really, really good. Hopefully you've got enough information all out of that to play your first game. And what I will say is this is one of those games that when you have played 1 or 2 games of it, you kind of get used to the pace of when to take cards, when to hold off, when to discard cards, and you'll see a lot of depth of strategy. It's really fun. I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, have a great game of Seven Wonders Duel.